Welcome to the Fall 2014 Intramural Sports Co-Rec Softball Captains video. This video will give you some information regarding intramural sports rules and regulations, as well as sport-specific rules and regulations for the upcoming Co-Rec softball season. Viewing of this video is not mandatory for team captains or softball participants, but failure to watch this video is not a viable excuse for not knowing University of Iowa intramural sports rules and regulations or sport-specific rules and regulations for Co-Rec softball. The first thing we want to talk to you about is the chance to get your money back for playing Co-Rec softball. As you know, there's a registration fee required to be paid to register for intramural Co-Rec softball, but there is a chance to get that money back if you have 75% of the players on your team's final roster complete the online confidential alcohol assessment called the eCheckup to Go program. If you have 75% of your team's final roster complete that assessment, your team will be refunded its registration fee. That refund will go to the team captain's U-bill and will be processed following the end of the Co-Rec softball playoffs in October. There are more details on this incentive on the Intramural Sports website through Recreational Services. So make sure to check out that website for instructions how to complete this initiative, how to complete the assessment, and have the verification sent to Intramural Sports so that we know that you participated in this program. The director of Intramural Sports is Tommy Shore. The program has 3 GAs, Drew Dunlay, Clint Angus, and Taylor Ulrich. We also have 9 student supervisors that will be at the game sites ready to help answer your questions and help you out with anything you need in regards to intramural sports. So if you have any questions about Co-Rec softball while you're out there playing, or anything related to the intramural sports program, be sure to find one of them in their black polos or gray jackets and with their name tags, and they will get you all the information that you need to know. As a team captain, we need you to make sure that your teammates are eligible, make sure those teammates know the sport and program rules and regulations, and if we need to contact your team for any reason here in the Intramural Sports office, we will contact you as a team captain. Some rules changes for this season. If you've played in the last few years, these rules will be new to you, and obviously if you've never played Co-Rec softball with us before, these new rules are new to you. Players may be added to team rosters up until 15 minutes prior to scheduled game time. In the past, for Co-Rec softball and many other sports, the roster addition deadline was midday or early in the morning for a weekend game. Now you can add players on IM Leagues to your team roster up until 15 minutes prior to the scheduled game time. 15 minutes before the game time, we will print score sheets on site. If a participant is not on the roster at that time, he or she cannot play in that night's game. When you get to the facility and you are on the team roster, you may check in with either a state-issued or a UI ID. Previously, it was only a University of Iowa ID card that would get you checked in to participate in intramural sports. Now you can use a state-issued or a University of Iowa photo ID. And forfeit fines will no longer be refunded. In the past, there was a chance to get a refund of those, and that will no longer be the case for this Co-Rec softball season. You have some familiarity with imleagues.com so far if you're watching this video. On this website, we'll post league announcements as well as general program announcements. You can add players to your roster throughout the season. Once schedules are made at the end of registration, you can check out your team schedules online at imleagues.com. If you're interested in other intramural sports, which we hope you are, you can find sport rules and information sheets for those sports. All you have to do is go to that sports homepage on imleagues.com, hover over the sport icon on the left, click the handbooks and manuals link, and you will find that information there. And once the season gets going, you can find updated standings and brackets all on imleagues.com. In conjunction with imleagues.com is a Rec-It mobile app. This is new this year. It's an awesome addition to our program, and it works in conjunction with IM Leagues as it is the official mobile app of imleagues.com. So what you do is you download this app. The official name is Rec*It. That is what you'll want to search on your smartphone to download. You can get real-time updates from Iowa intramural staff. Team captains can send teammates updates. You can utilize a chat feature that you can chat with your teammates rather than group text, things like that. And it's all generated through imleagues.com and the information that's on that website. So you download that app, log in with the same login information that you use on imleagues.com, and your app auto-populates with your team information, schedules, things like that, so you can check it all from your phone. Nice and easy there. If you have any questions about the Rec-It app, contact us in the Intramural Sports office. And again, that's Rec**It is what you want to search on your mobile device. The emphasis of our Intramural Sports program is sportsmanship. We expect all participants to display good sportsmanship while they're out there participating. If you do get in a fight while participating in intramural sports, you will be suspended from all recreational activities for at least 1 calendar year, and those incidents will be passed along to the Dean of Students' office, as that is a violation of the Student Code of Conduct. If you're carrying on and being unsportsmanlike, you may get ejected. An ejected player is required to meet with the intramural sports administrative staff along with you as the team captain. Both participants are suspended until at least the time of the meeting. Oftentimes, most times, the captain, after attending that meeting, is made eligible again, but the ejected participant is suspended at least 1 additional game following the ejection. For every co-rec softball game, the officials will rate teams on a scale of 1 to 4, with 1 being poor, 4 being excellent, in regards to that team's sportsmanship as displayed during that game. Both teams will start each game at a 2.5 rating, but cannot end at a 2.5. So they either have to work their way up to a 3 or 4 on the good side, which is awesome, or down to a 2 or a 1, which is not so good on our sportsmanship scale. If you receive a 2, you will get an email from the Intramural Sports office notifying you of that, reminding you that sportsmanship is a priority of our program, and you guys need to try a little harder in that regard. If you get a 1, you will be notified, and as team captain, you will need to come in and have a meeting with the Intramural Sports administrative staff. We take this very seriously. We want everybody to be acting in a mature, sportsmanlike way, so it's fun for everybody involved, including the officials. In order to be eligible for the playoffs or to stay in the playoffs once they have started, you must have a 2.5 or better average, and again, you must maintain that through the duration of the playoffs to remain in the bracket. Sometimes teams think they're acting in a sportsmanlike way. Officials might see it differently, and that's because perception is reality when it comes to a team's sportsmanship. How an official perceives your interaction with them makes a difference in your sportsmanship rating. A lot of times, whether intended or not, officials may deem something as inappropriate, unsportsmanlike, or attack on them. That's because in our culture, officials get yelled at, insulted, and spoken to negatively time and time again. So when they step on the field, they are naturally on the defensive. So as a participant, you need to go above and beyond to help make sure that your comments are not misconstrued by the officials. Some examples of this, good and bad. Good example is, "Sir, ma'am, can you please explain to me what you saw on that call on third base?" Then our umpires can tell you what they saw, whether the tag beat the person touching the foot on the base, or whatever the situation is, gives that official an opportunity to explain why he or she made the call that they did. A bad example of this is, "How could I have possibly been out?" That immediately doesn't solicit a response from our officials because it's being said or being interpreted and perceived in a negative manner. Another good example, "Sir, ma'am, was that pitch too high? Was that why you called it illegal?" Bad example, "Are you kidding me? That was an illegal pitch?" Things like that. Your presentation of what you say goes a long way in determining how an official interprets that and how that is reflected on your sportsmanship. All of your games will be officiated by student intramural officials. They are trained by the intramural sports staff. Some of them may have never worked before. Some of them may be certified in softball by the ASA. Regardless, we need you to treat the officials with the respect you expect to receive from them during the game. Our officials won't yell at you for dropping a fly ball or striking out. In the same way, we expect you to not yell at our officials or insult them when there's a situation you don't agree with or you feel like you could have done better. With all that said, if you feel like you are an excellent official, we want you to work on our team. To do so, you can attend a rookie officials meeting on Monday, September 1st at 5 p.m. in E220 Fieldhouse. If you've never worked for us before, that's the meeting to go to. If you have worked for us before, we have a veteran officials meeting on Monday, September 1st at 5:30 p.m. in E220 Fieldhouse. And if you want to work co-rec softball, we have training for that on Monday, September 8th at 6:30 p.m. at the Hawkeye Softball Complex. That is weather pending. If there's poor weather, we will relocate and we will update that information on our website. So check in with us if there's bad weather that day, and we will get you where you need to go. If you can't attend one of the meetings on September 1st or the training on September 8th and you still want to officiate and work in our program, we'd still love to have you, and we can make other arrangements. Just contact our office and let us know. As a team captain, like we talked about, players can be added to your team roster until 15 minutes before a team's quarterfinal playoff game. So you can add players to your team throughout the regular season and throughout the playoffs until the quarterfinal round. To be guaranteed eligible to play that night, a player must be added to a team's roster by that 15-minute deadline prior to the scheduled game time. Again, if they don't meet that deadline, they're not on the score sheet that's printed, they will not be able to play in that night's game. We need you to make sure you check imleagues.com frequently to make sure your roster is current and has no errors. Sometimes somebody could have changed positions within the university or their status changed one way or the other, and they are now listed as ineligible when they previously were eligible. If you have any questions about that, please contact our office. We can give you an explanation, or if it's incorrect, we can work to get that situation corrected so that somebody isn't listed as ineligible when they go to sign in to play co-rec softball. If you need to drop somebody from your team, you can submit a player drop request form, which is available in E216 Fieldhouse on imleagues.com and on the Intramural Sports website. Complete that form, put it in the drop box outside our office, or email it to the Intramural staff, and we will get that processed as long as that person is eligible. A person can be dropped from the team if he or she has not signed in for your team at any point in the season. To start a game, you need 8 players signed in, ready to play. A maximum of 5 males and 5 females in the field at any given time during co-rec softball play. You may bat a maximum of 12 people, 6 males, 6 females, and you can have as many people on the roster as you want, but again, only 10 in the field at a time, and your batting lineup can only have a maximum of 12 at a time. The pitcher-catcher combination must include 1 male and 1 female for co-rec softball. Who can make up your team? University of Iowa students, faculty, and staff members, as well as spouses or legally married partners. But those spouses or legally married partners must play on the same team as their originally eligible spouse or partner. So if I'm playing co-rec softball, my wife can play on my team, but if I wasn't playing, my wife could not play on any team because I have to be on that same team. And you may only represent one co-rec softball team. If you play on a second co-rec team, you are ineligible, or somebody else does, that player is ineligible for the remainder of the season. And any teams with any ineligible players on the roster will forfeit any games in which that player participates. So, as team captain, make sure you're checking up on this thing and checking up on your roster so that you know everybody is eligible that's on your team. Intercollegiate athletes cannot participate on an intramural team in their related sports. So, for purposes of co-rec softball, that relates to baseball and softball intercollegiate athletes. If they're a current intercollegiate athlete in baseball or softball, he or she cannot play on your intramural co-rec softball team. If they're formerly a Division I baseball or softball player, they have to have sat out for 2 full semesters. That's from the start of classes to the end of finals for 2 semesters in order to be eligible to play on your co-rec softball team. Once you get to the game site and ready for your game, you'll need to check in with an ID, a photo ID. Like we talked about before, this year you can check in with a state-issued ID or a University of Iowa ID card, and you will do that prior to each game. You'll check in with the officials on your field or with the supervisor at the game site. If you do not have an ID, you cannot play. There are no exceptions to this. So please, captains, remind all of your players to bring the proper photo ID for every game. And at the same time that they're checking in players, officials will also check for metal cleats, as those are illegal in intramural co-rec softball. If anybody misuses an ID, we will confiscate that ID, and that person will be suspended from intramural sports. We will also discipline, or we have the right to discipline, the individual supplying the ID as well as the team captain. Any of these incidents will also be reported to the Dean of Students' office. Again, that's a violation of the Student Code of Conduct. If you're scheduled to play and you do not show up or are not ready to play within 10 minutes of the scheduled game time, your game will be declared a forfeit. You will have forfeit that game. The captain of a forfeiting team will be fined half the registration fee, which for intramural co-rec softball is $35. And again, these forfeit fines will not be refunded. If you know that you cannot make a game, everybody on your team has a test that night or is going out of town or whatever the case is, you can let our office know ahead of time and it will be marked as a default. The first time you default, thanks for letting us know. There's no fine. We can let the other team know that they don't have to show up. We can make accommodations with our officials. We appreciate you letting us know ahead of time. The second time you default, now we have a little bit more of an issue with that because we schedule these games. We want them to be played. Your opponents are missing out if they don't get to play a game because of a default, things like that. So the second time it happens, we will fine the team captain 25% of the registration fee cost. If it happens a third time, that fine will be bumped up to 50% for a total of 75% in fines. So the moral of the story is play these games. We understand things come up and situation happens, which is why the first default, there is no fine. But if it continues to be a trend, those fines will move up. In order to default, you must declare it to the intramural sports office by 2 p.m. the day of the game. And you can do that by emailing andrew-dunley@uiowa.edu or giving our office a call at 319-335-9292. If you need to protest anything out at the game site, protestable calls are misinterpretations or misapplications of rules. No judgment calls may be protested. So if the umpire starts you with a 2-2 count rather than a 1-1 count, you may protest that. You must protest that immediately. Tell the umpire you want to protest. The intramural supervisor will come over and make a ruling. If you still do not agree with the ruling, you can tell the supervisor you want to submit a formal protest, and you can submit that written protest along with $5 to the intramural sports office by noon the next business day. If your protest is upheld, meaning you are correct, we'll refund that $5 and the remainder of the game will be played from the protest. If the protest is denied, meaning you were wrong in your interpretation of the rule, then we will keep the $5 and the game will stand as was completed the previous night. Once registration is complete, we will post team schedules on imleagues.com by Friday, September 5th, and games will begin on Thursday, September 11th at the Hawkeye Softball Complex. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms are not permitted inside the complex or in the parking lot. This is university property, therefore these rules must be followed. If we have inclement weather on a Thursday and you don't know whether or not games will be taking place, you can call the rainout hotline at 319-353-3000, extension 2. We will make a decision by 3 p.m. and update the rain line with whether or not we will be postponing games for that night. Once games get going, you can find league standings updated on imleagues.com. When the regular season comes to a close, the top 3 teams in each division will advance to the playoffs, and those playoffs will consist of a single elimination bracket tournament, and seeds will be determined by sportsmanship and overall record. Some discussion of equipment that can be worn while participating in intramural softball. As I mentioned, no metal spikes or cleats are permitted. We will use 12-inch softballs, and those will be provided by the intramural sports program. However, participants must supply their own gloves and bats. And when you bring your bats, all bats must be approved by ASA. For your safety, all jewelry must be removed prior to the start of the game. This includes but is not limited to visible piercings, necklaces, rings, bracelets, anklets, rubber bands, hair ties around wrists, etc. This is for the safety of everybody involved. We don't want a finger get caught in there or something weird happening that could have been avoided. So you cannot participate with any jewelry. The only exception to this is a medical alert bracelet or necklace, which must be taped down. Co-rec softball games will last 7 innings, or 6.5 if the home team is ahead, or 50 minutes, whichever comes first. And no new inning will begin after 50 minutes. The only exception to this is if a game is tied after 50 minutes, we'll go to extra innings to get a winner in that game. A game will become official after 5 innings, meaning if there's rain or inclement weather that comes along after we've already played 5 innings and the rest of the game can't be played, it will be official as long as we've gotten through 5 innings, or 4.5 if the home team is ahead. And we do have a mercy rule in our leagues with a 15-run rule in effect after 4 innings or a 10-run rule in effect after 5 innings. Batters will start with a 1-1 count, and a foul ball on the third strike will result in a strikeout. You can't just keep hitting foul balls until you put one in play. Foul ball on third strike will be a strikeout. When pitches come in, there must be an arc of at least 6 feet high and no more than 12 feet high. Teams are allowed a 3 over-the-fence home run limit per game. The only exception to this is if the other team then hits 3 home runs. Each team can then be, at any point in time, have 1 greater home run than the other team. The infield fly rule will be enforced when applicable. Runners on first and second, or runners on first, second, and third with fewer than 2 outs. When you make substitutions, all substitutes must bat and play at least 3 defensive outs before they can then come back out of the game. Courtesy runners may be used for injured players that come up to bat. However, these courtesy runners must be announced prior to the at-bat, must be the same gender as the person they are replacing, must be the last recorded out of that same gender, or a player that has not yet entered the game. Some adaptations to the co-rec version of intramural softball. The batting order must alternate gender, must go guy-girl or girl-guy. The 2 consecutive males or 2 consecutive females bat, and out is recorded in between automatically. If a male, when he is up to bat, receives 3 straight balls and no strikes pitched to him, he is awarded at base. However, the female batter that follows him must still take her at bat. We do have an outfield restriction line of 180 feet from home plate. All outfielders must start behind that 180-foot restriction line, and all 4 outfielders cannot cross that line until the ball is contacted by the batter. If you participate a lot in our intramural sports program, we encourage you to take part in the Intramural Sports Points Championship. There's no registration necessary. All you need to do is play a bunch of sports and use the same team name. We award points to each team that participates in each sport based on their finish. First place gets the maximum, not qualifying for the playoffs gets the minimum, and we've got point values all the way in between. So just keep your team name throughout both semesters, throughout the entire year, in everything you play, and you'll accumulate points. We will update those standings periodically throughout the year, post them on our website, we'll post them at Buffalo Wild Wings and outside our office so you can keep track of where your team is in the standings. And at the end of the year, we will award a champion in each of the 5 divisions: men's, women's, fraternity, sorority, and co-rec. These championship teams get a championship trophy, a $100 gift certificate to Buffalo Wild Wings in downtown Iowa City, and up to 20 Buffalo Wild Wings Points Championship champion t-shirts. Now that you've watched this video, there are a few steps left for you to complete your registration. You must pass the captain's quiz. You must meet the minimum player requirement on your team roster. You need to pay the registration fee and select the time of your games, all on imleagues.com. Games will be played on Thursday nights only, but you can select a time in which you will play your regular season games. And all these steps must be completed by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, September 4th, in order for you to be a part of our Intramural Rec Softball League. If you're interested in playing and don't have enough friends that want to play to form a team, or if you are a captain looking for more players to fill out your team, you can come to our free agent meeting, which will be held on Thursday, September 4th at 3 o'clock p.m., and that'll be in room 201 of the Fieldhouse. At this meeting, we will pair free agents up with each other to form a team, or we will have captains talk to free agents, pick them up to add to their rosters to complete the rest of their team. We want to get as many people playing as possible, and we don't want anybody to be left out, so we will have a free agent meeting on Thursday, September 4th at 3 p.m. If you're trying to register and all the divisions listed on imleagues.com are full, don't worry. Get as far as you can in registration. If all the divisions are full, you won't be able to pay, so you'll just need to meet the minimum player requirement, and then you will need to attend a waitlist meeting on Friday, September 5th at 2 p.m. in room 201 Fieldhouse. At this meeting, waitlist teams will choose divisions and from the new selections that we offer, and we'll get teams assigned to divisions and in our leagues. Intramural Sports has Friday night series of events. These are free intramural sports that take place on Friday nights throughout the year. They are alternative sports and events, some lesser known or more common or more unique sports and events. In the fall semester, we have kickball, bowling, mini golf, team handball, canoe battleship. In the spring semester, we have wiffle ball, inner tube water polo, volleyball, late night softball, and another round of canoe battleship because there's such a big hit last year. So these are fun, free events. Just register on imleagues.com and take part in our Friday night series. If you have any questions about anything on this video or anything related to intramural sports in general, feel free to contact us by phone at 319-335-9292 or by email intramural-sports@uiowa.edu, or you can follow us on Twitter at Iowa Intramurals and friend us on Facebook by searching Iowa Intramurals. Get connected with us, get all of our registration deadlines and updates with the program and things coming up, and get connected with Iowa Intramural Sports. Good luck this season and have fun.